What's up, Previews World? What's going on? This is Troy Jeffrey Allen with, of course, previewsworld.com and, of course, Previews World Weekly. And welcome to another roundtable. So, look, we just did the Zack Snyder, the Snyder Cut roundtable, right? And before that, we did the Dawn of X roundtable. There's a huge gap in between, but what we're hoping to do is to make these things kind of an ongoing thing. So if there's an event in comics or around comics, then we get to do a little roundtable, aka Troy gets to hang out with his friends for an hour on work during work hours. So welcome to the show. Let me introduce you to our guest this week. First up, Eli Schwab of Cosmic Lion Productions.
What up?
What's up? What's up? And I'll definitely ask you guys about your podcast in a second, but I want to get to our second guest, hip hop sensation Manus. What's going on, man?
Oh man, hip hop sensation. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you, my man.
Nice to meet you too, man. Actually, I guess we're officially meeting right now, but like Eli slid under the desk a couple of your YouTube videos my way, and I was like, oh, this is nice. I like this. So
thank you so much.
Beyond being a hip hop sensation, right? Beyond Cosmic Lion Productions, you guys host together. I mean, like we talk about nerd cred, right? This is some serious nerd cred. Together, you guys host Can I Flip It podcast. Can you guys tell us a little bit about that before we dive into King in Black?
Totally, man. I'll start on this one, man. With my old podcast, Cosmic Lion Radio, once I moved out here to LA, it's crazy too about me and Manus. We've known of each other for like almost 20 years. And all of our friends, when we were living in Vermont, they're like, yo, you got to meet Manus. You got to meet Manus. He's like, loves comics too. And we never got together until we moved out here to LA. So then I went to interview him for Cosmic Lion Radio. And we were like, dude, this is like working really well. And then so we did our podcast, and I hadn't done a Cosmic Lion Radio then for like 5 years or something like that until just like last year. But like it just worked out perfectly for us. And it's like, we could do this together.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
I feel like when we met up, I was like, why weren't we hanging out? It makes no sense. It like literally was above my apartment at times. And I'm like down there reading all these comics. I'd be like, all my friends around me making fun of me because comics weren't cool yet. But could have had a an ally right away back then, man.
Right away.
Nonetheless, it's good we've met each other now and really had a spectacular time. Spectacular comic book adventure as friends now,
Yeah, nice. Oh. Well, can you guys tell us about Can I Flip It? I mean, like, what is it exactly?
Well, it's basically like, when we first started and the world was healthy, we lived super close, and so we would just get together and we would go out to comic book shops. We'd get the new books. We'd hang out. We'd read. We like sit together quietly and read and like then we would podcast and we would have fun and we'd go out and we'd talk about our day and what we did, and then slowly it moved into our YouTube like video show, Collecting is Tight. And
real tight.
So then and now we're trying to do this like YouTube show, Collecting is Tight, but it's been hard because we haven't been able to hang out so very much together. But yeah. But it's just been amazing hanging out, and it's because Manus does hip hop and I do comics, I write comics. We were like, we got to think of a name that's like together. So we were trying to figure out what, can I kick it? Yes, you can. Can I flip it? Yes, you can. So that's where
you can.
From.
We basically just would run around. It would just be like a round table every week for what came out new, whatever. Like, because I collect toys and all sorts of other stuff, video game stuff. I would bring a little of that to the table too, and we would, just talk about whatever nerd stuff was going down that week that intrigued us.
Nice. No, I mean, definitely check that out. You guys can catch it on YouTube. What is it? What else is it on?
Yeah, it's on. We have a Libsyn website, but that like syndicates it, so it's on iTunes, it's on Spotify, all those podcasts, Podchaser, Podbean, all that stuff. So just search "Can I Flip It?" THWIPP. There's not always two P's, but we got
usually.
So, guys, the last issue of King in Black dropped this past week, right? Actually, a couple of days ago. It was a 5-issue series. Whoa, we got Donnie Cates in here.
Yo! Oh my God!
Well, now we got to say nice things about him.
Well, that's all we had. That's all we had planned. We've been talking about Nulled Out Symbos for years on our podcast, because we've been following it since as soon as Donnie Cates came on, and even Thanos wins and all that stuff. So we've been and Silver Surfer Black.
Surfer
oh
Black.
my god, I'm
Yeah,
such a huge Surfer fan. So all those books, man, we were covering on the cast.
No, awesome. So let's dive into it. Let's talk about Cates and Stegman's book then. First of all, I guess like the number one thing here is like, look, crossovers, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of hype leading into them, and then I want to say, and I want to say that 90, oh, that's maybe too harsh. I'd say 60% of the time they don't live up to the hype. But would you guys say this lives up to the hype? I'm gonna start with you, man. What do you say?
I mean, yeah. I personally, from the story, I kind of when the book starts, when King of Black 1 starts, I'm like, this is hopeless. These guys got nothing here. But by the time we got to the end, I was like, okay, this is exciting. He's figured out a cool way to come around and defeat this guy. I mean, because Absolute Carnage kind of ended. It kind of ended like, damn, he's coming. They didn't stop it,
Right.
And then it led into this bigger event where he gets there, and he is just like crazy overpowered compared to everybody who's capable of fighting him at the moment. And it just that first issue felt so hopeless. Even the second issue, it felt hopeless. Yeah. It felt like these guys they're not going to be able to deal with this guy. We're done. We're finished. This is the day the heroes fail. But
I love
ultimately at the end, it comes around and you're like, okay, that was tight. Like, I loved the last issue. I know we'll get to it as we get to it. But and just all the setup that he had for this, and taking pieces from the past and incorporating them into the story to, I don't know, build this like grandiose moment. In my opinion, it's like the Infinity Gauntlet was the time before this event that really like lived up to its hype. I guess even back then, probably people said the same kind of thing that we all say now about these events too. It was like, did it live up to the hype? People probably back then were like, Infinity Gauntlet, whatever. But ultimately, like, Infinity Gauntlet is one of the most like renowned stories in the Marvel universe, to date. And I think that this one sits nicely next to that one in terms of like satisfaction and them coming around and working it out. Because man, if they didn't work it out, we'd all be nulled out and Simbo'd right now.
Right. There you go. That's one. We're doing the nulled out Simbo count. That's one. Actually, real quick before I forgot one thing before we get into this. Johnny, if you can you just pop up spoiler warning? I shouldn't have to say this. The last issue dropped this week. We're going to talk about all of it. So if you haven't picked up your copy, just come back and check it out because we're going to say we're going to talk about it and we're going to say some insightful stuff. I swear. Gotcha. It's going to get philosophical in here. So no, I'm glad you mentioned all the connecting pieces. I'm glad you mentioned that Null is kind of OP because he's kind of OP. He definitely, I felt that a little bit, but also I got to point out, Absolute Carnage ended. I think that was one of the things I liked about Absolute Carnage is like they didn't win. No, you know what I mean? And like I found that kind of refreshing, like ultimately, like, and I think actually the same thing is kind of with the Infinity Gauntlet, right? Like it kind of ends with well, they won, but not really, So yeah, I'm all for that. What about you, Eli? Like, did you think it lived up to the hype?
I mean, honestly, yes. I get so swept up in all the stuff and all the backstory that Cates brought to it. I love it because like we were talking before, like before it was just like the Beyonder like gave Spidey some black suits, like a black costume to wear, and like and that was kind of it. We didn't know he was like an alien. That was it. But now now every story previously, there's so much more depth in the like Vietnam, whatever thing. Like all the stuff, Rex Strickland, all the back stuff, Venom First Host, like Manus said, laying all those ground pieces to then. He's coming. The King in Black is coming. Manus, we did that one episode that we opened on the chant. Like, what was that chant that all the like, God is coming. No, it's coming. Like there was that one chant from
character acting.
Oh man, we always try to do that, but like skits. It totally lived up to the hype, and ultimately the weapon that was created to. Oh my God, it was amazing. It lived up to the hype, man. We love this stuff, so it's like. God.
No, I ate it up. And you know what? I can tell, like I said this, I did a Thanos Wins video like a few years ago. And one of the things I said that I think still is true to this day is you can tell that Donny Cates, dare I say, is one of us. He's definitely a fan. I feel like he's our particular type of fan in a lot of ways. Like, you know what I mean? Like first spoiler right off the bat, the Captain Universe pull. like just blew my mind when I like read that in issue. I think it was issue 5. Like just bringing all these pieces together, like Mana said, to tell this like giant story. So did you guys read the other stuff? Did you guys read Thanos Wins, Cosmic Ghost Rider? Was it also he's got a Thor run right now? Were you guys already following all that stuff?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
We were covering that on Can I Flip It?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I didn't read the Thor run yet, though. Like now, I think I'm going to go back and get it. Manus was filling me in on the eps, but like I'm.
Oh my god, the first 6 issues of that series, where Galactus comes in like the Black Winter, or whatever that is, that's engulfing the universe, which was like the initial event that spawned Galactus. You know, Galen was the sole survivor of this event before. And then how they like, I don't know, when Thor like throws the hammer through his knee, like, yes, kill him. That was a cool. And then he like fights his dark half in that. I think I'm only up to issue 9. I definitely have like a short box full of comic books I need to read. And I think they're up to like issue 13 or 14 or 15 of that now. I got to go back and see where he's taking it after the whole Black Witcher thing. But yeah, like King Thor, Herald of Galactus.
Yeah,
was pretty dope. And you know, he was also something to kind of help deter Null a little bit in The King in Black. You know, thank God he pulled up and offered whatever hand he could. Yeah, there he is.
There he is.
I love that. I love that costume design too, man. I love that.
I love how like the first, I want to say like with the first 3 issues, everybody's like, "Where's Thor? Where's Thor? Where's Thor? Where's Thor?"
Yeah.
Like they just kept echoing that over and over again. It was like, "Please, God, bring Thor here. Like make it happen." And then he shows up and he's kind of like he tries his best, but ultimately
he sure does.
It comes down to an additional party has to save the day. And yeah, that was absolutely phenomenal. Me personally, I just read Silver Surfer Black last week. And so, like, you know, so I did a lot of catching up in between because I had read Absolute Carnage and I had definitely read Thanos Wins, definitely read Cosmic Ghost Rider. Have not read Thor yet either. So I'm with you on that one, Eli. Kind of regretting it right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, right. But like, it was really cool to also just kind of see that get tied into this, to see Silver Surfer Black get tied into this. Specifically, like, there's this whole overarching theme of like, of redemption that kind of threads through all of these books, which I thought was actually pretty interesting too. Like in Thanos Wins, it's about, you know, can you redeem a killer if he like, I'm sorry, Cosmic Ghost Rider, it's about can a killer be redeemed if, like, you know, if the clock is set back and he's raised, he's reared from an early age to be something that he's not, right? And then all of Silver Surfer Black is him kind of coming to terms with the fact that he was the Galactus, the Herald of Galactus. And then, of course, Venom's whole thing is like, you know, look, I was a villain. I'm trying to do right now. But, you know, all these things keep coming back up from my past, particularly the symbiote. And it's all kind of manifests itself in the darkness that is Null, the original darkness that is kind of like the darkness in all of us. You know, it was like thematically, it was just like really impressive. And it kind of, I've only seen a couple other writers do this, but I know Grant Morrison has done this, but I really like the fact that Cates is weaving his own thread within the Marvel universe. So if you like Donny Cates, you really are getting like a comprehensive story, like from top to bottom. So yeah, I thought that was really awesome. Who we got here? We've got issues. Man, I'm loving Thorn. Everything Venom and King in Black is a masterpiece. Donny should open his own comic company. It's actually pretty good. Yeah. I like that.
He's killing it over at Image to like sidetrack a little bit. I mean, crossover and all that.
Yeah, crossover
is insane.
Yeah. I mean, if you want proof that he's a comic book fan, crossover definitely nails that point home for sure. So you mentioned Fantasy, like where you kind of think this ranks in terms of Marvel crossovers, but I'm curious, Eli, and you can elaborate too, Manus. Where do you think this ranks in Marvel crossovers? Like, what is at least in the same positioning as this?
I mean, it's like one of those things of like trying to compare a band from nowadays to like a band from like the 60s.
Yeah.
You can't compare them because like a band now has all those generations to like draw from and like make better. So it's like it's hard to even compare this to Infinity Gauntlet or to Secret Wars or any of that. But because Cates was able to weave all this stuff for 4 or 5 years, you know, dropping hints, starting from Venom 1 and like, I mean, has anything ever been this epic? You know, and again too, it's not like it's just this, like Absolute Carnage, was also huge crossover, and like all the Venom stuff. Like, so it was like numerous seasonal crossovers that like led up to this like huge thing. So like it's hard to say if there's ever been anything like, it's like trying to compare Infinity War to like any other movie. It's like there's never been a movie that's had 10 movies leading up to it. It's like that's why it is the
20.
best, is because like 20
20
yeah
Right.
Like you can't compare it to anything else, so it's got to be the best. It's its own thing, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Okay, cool. What else we got here? Ben Granoff, getting the scoop from people who dig it is better than reading the books sometimes. Thanks, boys. Well, you should still read the book, Ben. Come on, man.
Hey, shout out to Ben, my co-host on the Devil in Detail, the Grendel Reread podcast.
Oh, nice. Look, you're a jack of all trades. You're just hitting all the fine points, aren't you?
Got to.
So let's talk about art. Like Eli, you made a controversial statement. I'm never not going to bring this up.
I know.
You made a controversial statement on I think it was the last time you were on the show about how art is more important than story, right? Even though you just geeked out about the story, so grain of salt, right?
Exactly.
But what do we think of Ryan Stegman? How did he do with this? Like, I'll start with you, Eli, and then we'll work our way around.
I love him. I mean, Stegman was brought to my attention by Manis when his work on just the Amazing Spider-Man or the Spider-Man book. And just like, I love the way, and we were talking about this on the Can I Whip It episode, which will be coming out later today, is like the way that he just sculpts his characters and the heft and grit that he, look at that. I mean, and every Eddie panel, his cheekbones and the beard and the hair, and like, I mean, he combines like exactly right here. The mouth is so McFarlane and so like early. It's not that crazy, like, and though you do get it, the tongue whipping around, spiraling out, like, this is. Oh man, I love Stegman's art. I think he does it great. The way he captures the X-Men too, and like, I don't know, I love it. And in this case, because you have amazing artists working with such an amazing artist. They work together in perfect, if I may, symbiosis.
Yeah, no, I'm with it. I think I'm with you on that. Absolutely. Like, no, I want to point. Eli's going to lay down some puns here, so it's going to be great. I appreciate it. What about you, Manis? What did you think of the art?
I think always in terms of comics, for me personally, like, art is way more important to me than the story could be, because it could be like a really, like Scud, the disposable assassin, for instance. I guess that's a little more of a complex story when you actually think about it and can understand it. But like when I was younger and would grab a comic book, what would really draw me in was the artwork, not as much of what was really going on when you could actually, understand and fathom the stories. And in terms of Stegman, I mean, he literally, I hate to compare artists because I think that everybody's unique in their own way, but Stegman really embodies a lot of my favorite artists, like Joe Madureira, like J. Scott Campbell, like Todd McFarlane. He puts all those guys kind of together. I think that's been one of the bigger things for me as to why I love Ryan Stegman's art. Ryan Otley too, guys like that. But specifically in the story, I mean, like Eli was saying, he puts so much detail in the face and just like makes it heavy. The images he draws really weigh on you, or they like super exciting and get you geeked up for like what's to come, that over exaggerated display of actions and stuff like that. Ryan Stegman's definitely in my top. It would be really hard for me to have a top like 3 per se, because I would just keep going. There's so many artists that I think are like, so unbelievable, and Ryan is in that pocket of artists for me for sure. He's one of my favorites.
The Riot that is Riots.
I love it. I love it. Actually,
he's the Rye that's a Stegman, not a Riot.
Oh, damn! I get all this mixed in my head. It's two Ryans that kill it on Spidey. Sorry,
there's a bunch of Ryans. They draw Spider-Man, and it's
there you go.
The Ryans
Stegman. That's right. Yeah.
No, you know what? Spidey for a second.
Now, you know what? I actually didn't even think about this, but you're 100% right. Like the Todd McFarlane pull, there's something to that. You're on the money about that, and actually, that's maybe what felt new but familiar to me as I was reading it, and I didn't know why. But yeah, I can definitely see those influences. Definitely, I definitely noted it. There's moments there. Johnny just showed an image Null with his hair kind of blowing away from the panel or whatever. And I'm like, there's definitely moments where I'm like, man, it's like you can see kind of the anime influence in some of this stuff too. And but overall, just an animation influence. I think like these characters look like they're moving. They look like they're jumping off the page, you know. Yeah. And I absolutely love that about this. And it didn't even cross my mind. But yeah, Todd McFarlane makes a lot of sense now. I actually I dig that.
Especially in the webbing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Expansive webbing.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, yeah, you're right about that too, because not everybody does that anymore. So that's actually another great point too. Yeah. Big moments like Manus. What did you think was the biggest moment in this comic, in this particular King in Black story?
I mean,
don't steal mine.
The splash where Eddie comes back from his little comatose death mode, and he puts the sword and the hammer together and makes that crazy axe. He's just like, we're back. I'm the comeback king. That was I was just like, here we go. Yep, we did it. We got him. He's done. He's finished. He's done. I just got a chance. It's like, well, he's just whooping on him like that. Like, I think, before me and Eli had talked about it, Eli's like, Donny Cates said this is the best comic he's ever written. And I was like, for a singular comic book issue, it just shows one of your favorite anti-heroes really just becoming so powerful, man. Like when he's just swinging that axe and those symbiote dragons' heads are getting chopped in half. And he's just like, hey, pulls the symbiote. I was like, no one stands a chance against that cosmic venom that comes in there. Like that, that was my favorite part. I was like, it was worth it. Every moment that you built for this, to see that splash of venom with that venom cosmic axe. Oh my God. That was my favorite. Yeah, spoiler alert. That was my favorite. That was one of my favorite moments I've seen in comics in a long, long time. Like definitely in the last, like since Civil War stuff, Secret Invasion stuff. And I know some people didn't really like those events, but good Lord, that Venom cosmic axe. That was my favorite part, hands down.
It's funny. I don't think I even necessarily, as it happened, I didn't necessarily realize what was happening. And it wasn't until one of the characters actually said it that I was like, wait, what? This is insane. I mean, he's really good at it. And again, this is why I think I really do feel like he's a fan. And I mean, it kind of goes without saying, but he's really good at that, those holy moments. You know what I mean? Like he really is good at giving you those moments in the story that makes you want to come back every month, or makes you want to turn the page, or even just kind of pause for a second. Like, did we just go there? We just went there. I love it. Yes. What about you, Eli? What was your favorite moment from this book?
Well, I mean, obviously Silver Surfer turning his board into a sword, and then that sword becoming with Meow Meow to be the two mean Meow Meow axe. Look at that. Oh my God, it's insane. But if I have to choose another one, I just think that seeing all these nulled out celestials, nulled out dragons, the Grendel, the Earth, and just the sheer devastation that visually seeing and seeing the Earth covered in the blackness, celestial blood come to life. Gosh, that was so amazing. And the vision of Donny Cates to bring that one couple panels from Thor God of Thunder #6 to become this thing, and then explaining that, and oh my gosh. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, man. Because you made me think about something, and I'm excited to talk about it. But go for it.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. So just seeing the sheer power and the spread of the power, and that celestial, and then that final beheading of the celestial. Oh my God.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Oh, we got a few more comments here, then I'll get back to what I was about to jump into. What you got down there, Johnny? What's going on? We got issues. I really enjoyed Iron Man's new symbiote suit, and I hope more is done with it. Yeah, that was actually a nice other callback too. It was Iron Man saying look, I got Extremis. It's this bioengineering thing. Let's see if I can manipulate a symbiote and take this thing to town. And then he rides a celestial it's a damn horse. I mean, basically, it turns into Pacific. It turns into Pacific Rim for a second, which is absolutely awesome.
Isn't he piloting a dragon too at one point too?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, gosh. And what happened with Doctor Strange too? Didn't he Simbo out a little bit too?
Yeah, he did. He kind of got taken out of the match for a second too by it. But
Black Cat goes to save him or something. Like Black Cat has a symbiote heist.
Yeah,
to steal him back from Null.
Yeah. Oh, is that in one of the? Is that in her book?
That's in her book. Yeah.
Okay. See, I didn't read that one. Okay, cool. What else we got here? Tony Capo. I've been saying Stegman is the current McFarlane for a while. Glad to know others agree. I'm on board now.
Yeah, 100%.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be cool to see him in. Oh, look, that's my shirt. Miseria. Sorry. Jeez.
It's all good. Now that it's over, I can't help but wonder about what'll happen next. Yeah, I know. Especially we know that Null isn't completely gone. Venom 2099. Okay. Does he? Have you guys been reading Venom? Have you read the Venom 2099 book? I know it's like. It's not an ongoing thing, but I guess he comes back later. That's interesting. All right.
Can you really kill the Blackness?
I mean,
and also Venom 200 coming out.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, that's happening too. And that's the end of Cates' Venom run too.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Wow.
So we'll see what he leaves for whoever to take on and go forward next.
Yeah. I mean, it's too rich of an idea. Like the fact that Venom is like now this. Well, I mean, Captain Universe, whatever you want to call it, energy kind of left him. But the fact that he's now this higher being, and just a full understanding that the symbiote is part of this larger lineage that predates time in a lot of ways. It's just there's so many much bigger ideas. I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't like Venom for the longest time. I just was not a fan of that character. And it was mostly because I just loved Spider-Man so much. I think that was really what it boiled down to. Yeah. And the premise that was hung onto Venom initially, which is that okay, he's a photographer that lied about the Sin Eater story, and now he wants to kill himself. And then the symbiote merges with him because Peter Parker shunned him like a jilted lover, and now they're just obsessed with Peter. I don't know. It just never worked for me. But this really works for me. And I've been a big fan of this since it kicked off. Craig says, what I love most about all of this is that Cates was able to breathe life into one of the best anti-heroes and flesh out his story throughout the Venom series. Not just the symbiote, but a person. There you go.
Yeah. Perfect. Yep.
I mean, he really revolutionized this character. And as I've been listening to Robservations, as I'm sure many of you guys do, and he talks about how Cates brought this book that was barely selling and turned it into Marvel's #1 book. And they had been doing some interesting things with Venom, especially Flash Thompson Venom Space Knight, and then coming back and doing the Venom crossover with the X-Men from the past that came to the future. That run, something blue, something that was really cool.
X-Men Blue.
That was the poison story with the anti-Venom, the virus or whatever that was. That was part of the Venomverse stuff. What was that story called? Where they if you had the symbiote, you get hardened out. I forget exactly what that was called.
Oh yeah. The poisons came in, and
that was the Cullen. Wasn't that the Cullen Bunn story or something like that? If you guys know in the chat, let's Venomized. There you go. Yeah. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome. So they had been doing some interesting stuff with him because again, the symbiote is such a cool thing. It cannot be understated. It's almost like the Mask in a way where you can do anything. There's no end to this, and you can't be hurt, and you get bigger and smaller, and you can create weapons, and oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So,
it's like a Green Lantern ring sort of even, except for
right.
You don't have to be worthy of it per se.
True.
Yeah, no, it kind of chooses you, which is actually really cool. For me, I think the big moment, and it's mostly a big moment because it kind of proved up front that this was going to get bigger. The moment that the Celestials showed up, at Null's back, fully nulled out Symbos, as Eli likes to say. Right? As you guys
that's medicine. Yeah, we.
So that's 2 right there. But that moment, that moment was such a huge moment because it was oh, okay, we're going all the way with this. We're going full tilt with this. And literally, in that moment, I was okay, if I hadn't realized at this point that he was changing our understanding of Venom, it's official now here. He just took out the celestial beings, the things that are the kickstarters of the universe. This is a nuts concept. And I actually thought that was absolutely cool. And it just reframed the entire character for me. So I was all about it, man.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Complete
Yeah,
reframing. Like,
Yeah,
to
100%.
be-
Like you really. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Go
well,
ahead.
yeah, I just reread Venom 1 last night to prep for this a little bit. And like whenever he gets knocked, he gets like tranked, and then he wakes up with Rex Strickland, this guy, and he's like, "What do you really know about your Simbo? Do you know his name? Are you the first host?
Yeah.
When did he get to Earth?" And Eddie's like, "Oh damn, I don't."
Right.
Yeah.
And then like because then it was like the Simbo had this bad dream and it's getting like scared and it won't like listen to him, and then that's when he comes around and he's like,
Yeah.
no doubt Simbos begin, and that's because like the hive mind is being like polluted with like God is coming, he is coming.
You're right. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, they're all technically like scared. I mean, Null created the symbiotes and used them, but it's like they're all really scared of him.
Right.
They do what he says. They don't like technically like him or love him in any way. They just like have to obey him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, like I think like other big moments, blacking out the Earth, like kind of ensuring that there was no external like monster threat that was going to come in and like save the day, right? And then ultimately it takes the combined might of Silver Surfer and Captain Universe to like kind of like come in and actually save the day, which I also thought was pretty cool.
So cool. They're like outside the Earth and they kind of like meet. They're like, So he's like, he comes in and then there's like this shiny ball and they're like, "What's up, dude? You ready?"
Right.
Good kicks, man.
right. No, I absolutely love that. I thought that was so cool. So yeah, we did talk a little bit about the expansion of the symbiote mythos, right? But I'm curious, like, what other aspects of this expansion did you guys really dig? Like, I will start with you, Mims, because you like kind of elaborated, but what other aspects of this the symbiote history that Cates has exposed to us that you thought was just awesome?
Well, I think even to go back to what you were saying about how they reframed Eddie, I like that they gave him, you felt a little more for him. You saw his like troubled beginning, and before Spider-Man, all that. He doesn't come from a happy home. Not a lot of characters in comics do, but this guy's really damaged. Like you were saying, he was suicidal. Him and the symbiote met and then had this hatred for Spider-Man, but it really became way deeper than that moment ever was, giving him this son who's like, tainted by him merging with the symbiote and all that stuff. Like, opening those doors for this character and really giving him more of a, what's the word that you like, you really, you sympathize, you empathize for this guy, you sympathize for him. Seeing what he's going through and to watch him overcome, possibly the most difficult thing Earth has ever had to deal with, I really, in terms of over the whole thing that Cates wrote and relating to Venom was how he really gave us Eddie Brock's like history from a child to now to show his like real battered and beaten, self.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely had a moment when they introduced. So, I didn't really start reading this book until like somewhere in the middle of the Venom run, and so I saw that he had a son. I was like, oh God, here we go. Like they're going to introduce a kid, and this is going to be garbage. And like but then like I'm reading, I'm like, actually, I like the son, and it kind of works, and I like the kind of the tension that's there initially where he's kind of like lying to the kid about being his dad and the reasons that he's doing it. You know what I mean? So yeah, this book created like or like Cates' run did the impossible for me, man. Like it really did. Like it made me really appreciate this character and want to see more from this character, which I wasn't really big on before. What about you, Eli? Were there other aspects of the symbiote mythos that Cates expanded on that you like were like, yes, absolutely?
Yeah, man. While it was going on and Manus and I were covering it for the show, like the whole thing about trying to figure out, like, are these alien creatures? Is it kind of like, I'm a big Star Trek fan, is it like the changelings, how they all exist in this like pool of like, but they're all individuals, but they just chill out like in this pool. And it kind of seemed like it was that at first. And then you hear this Clintar word and you're like, oh, they're Clintars now. So, but then, they develop that a little more. And it's like, no, actually Clintar is like, for lack of a better term, that's like our slave name because that's the jail. That's like the prison, the cage that held us. And so then they're like, no, we don't, that is not our term. That is like, And so then you build out more and more, and then you find out, okay, no, actually, this is just like they gave life to the darkness, that like Null just like gave light to dark and brought to life this, oh my gosh. And so just seeing like where it came from, there's one little piece that like I'm still not clear on, and that's like, how did this certain symbiote get to the Beyonder? Now, like that's one thing that like Manus says that they covered it, but I don't remember it. And so Donnie, hey, if you're still listening, I'm just kidding. But like, if anyone else remembers that, like I can't exactly remember like where they lay that down, but like I feel like that's like a little story that's left to be told. But
well, actually, Manus, what was it? Because I actually don't remember that either.
I feel like I don't remember if it's in that first host book, Venom First Host, which has that. The Kree dude who wore the symbiote at one point. His name is Telkar. And then when in that specific story, he like gets a piece of the symbiote back and creates a sleeper, I believe, from it. But I was pretty sure there was a book in there. I was trying to look it up before we were talking, but I'm pretty sure there was a book in there where they kind of say like how that specific symbiote got to the Beyonder and then to Peter. Because of all the history he kind of gives us. But I can't exact the moment.
There's a cool part in that the X-Men crossover with Venom where they're out in space, because they land in this like market where they're selling different symbiotes or something like that, and they're like, oh yeah, I sold, welcome back, because Venom symbiote is like scared because like he's starting to remember that like he was in prison there and then sold I think to Telkar to be the first host, but then somehow Telkar, it was taken from the Beyonder, but then again, the Beyonder is like what, all existence personified. So it's
right,
he could have just been like yoink now, Spidey. It's like
true. Actually, that's a good point. Yeah. I always kind of figured like it was one of those things like one of the symbiotes was bound to like kind of like find its way around the universe, and it just happened to end up here. It was a Battle World or whatever. That's what it's called, right? Battle World. Yeah. So like that's always kind of how I took it, but now I'm gonna have to check that out. Like it was in the first host book. You think, right, man? It's okay. I'll check that out.
I believe so. Yeah.
Now I'm diving full into this whole like backstory now, because like now I'm like super curious about everything that Cates has been doing with this. Craig, what do you guys think about the resurrection of Flash Thompson? Where do you see that going? That's a good question. I actually didn't catch that because I've been reading mostly the events. But what do you guys think?
That's in Venom 34.
Did he come back to Earth, or was he?
No, his hand pops out of the grave at the end of Venom 34. Nice. I loved the white dragon that he became inside of the Hive mind, the Codex mind, while Eddie was trying to escape. That issue basically shows Eddie like dealing with some emotional stuff as the Enigma Force comes and wakes him up. And then all right, now it's time for issue 5. But yeah, Flash Thompson's lit. I loved Agent Anti-Venom.
Oh man, hell yeah.
I just loved Flash gaining those powers and being a little like Spider-Man. I love the character Flash Thompson, that he was this jerk bully guy all through high school, gave Peter Parker his idol. He didn't even realize it. Gave that guy the hardest time ever. And then he like goes away to war and gets ultimately humbled. And then he gets, he was psyched to get the symbiote, and I felt like he never really had those type of like it's driving me crazy moments. Maybe occasionally we saw that in some of his Venom run, but yeah, I love just the honor that you see in Flash Thompson, and he's a good hero. Like I think what was it? We lose him. He dies in Spidey 800, like the Carnage Goblin.
Oh yeah,
kills him. I believe.
Yeah. Right.
That's where we lost him. And yeah, now it looks like he's back. Somebody's hand pops out of the grave at the end of 34. Okay. Flash Thompson. To end what I'm saying, Flash Thompson is tight.
All that to say, Flash Thompson is tight. What about you, Eli? You into this idea?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately in comics, who really stays dead? Like, and especially like Flash Thompson. And Agent Venom, Agent Anti-Venom was so cool. I mean, that character design, like Manus is saying, and like he's like Eddie, and he's this like redemption story. Like he hated Peter, and then ultimately, dude, the scene where Peter and Flash figure out who each other, that one's Spidey and that one's Agent Venom, like, because they had been working together for a minute, and then once they learned who each other are, like, that was a super epic moment in Spidey history, I think. So I'm excited to see what happens. You know, it seems like these guys, they always have those codexes. There's always that little codex at the bottom of the spine, and it like slowly, because I was saying, like, when Thor cranks off Null's jaw, and then later on, you know, when he sucks the symbiote off, he's got his jaw back. I was like, man, it's like, how's that jaw back? And he's like, oh, the symbiote grows back your body, and like, the symbiote grows back under stuff. So like, so it must have just been slowly putting him back together. And then once his mind in the, you know, in the whatever it's called, the hive mind, kind of got reactivated, and then he was like, oh dang, my body is actually kind of growing back, so let's get back in there. Nice. So I'm psyched to see what happens, and I'm down, and I will buy Agent Venom Returns issue 1.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, nice. Yo, put that on my pull list, y'all.
So we talked a little bit about you mentioned briefly that Null is overpowered, right? Does it bother you a little bit? Like, I had this moment when I was reading and I was like, it's a little OP. This is getting kind of out of control. But then as the story rolled, yeah. You said what?
I'll say issue 1, there was no hope. I had no hope. I had zero hope. I was like, we're done. It's over.
Mm-hmm. You're right. No, I mean, the way he comes at them is like so hard. Like, you know what I mean? And like, I just had this moment, like, initially when I was reading it, I was like, yeah, he's a little OP. This is kind of like a bit much. But then, I don't know, like, it's something about the drama that unfolds over the course of several issues. I just stopped caring about it. And like, I won't say that I was rooting for him, but like, I was kind of curious, like, what else could he do? You know what I mean? So what did you guys think about that? Like, it was OP or just right?
I mean, I think he was. Yeah. Go ahead, Eli. Go ahead.
Just for me, quickly, like, this like turns on my writer's brain and like my creative side. It's like, can you really create a threat that truly, you know, puts fear into these amazing heroes unless they are overpowered? Like, when you think about Galactus, and when you think about Thanos, and you think about Q from Star Trek, or you think about Darkseid, like, all those dudes are the ultimate threats in their universe, and that's because they're like theoretically overpowered. And then only through like the creative writing of Donny Cates or whoever do you really find that like that like hole in the armor. So like, can you really create this truly epic story without introducing a villain who is like overpowered?
Right. What about you, Manus?
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with that. He's, you know, he is OP, and it took like a miracle. It literally took a miracle to stop him that, you know, not many of us would have saw coming. You know, the Enigma first, I think, was something most people forgot about and did not expect to come and help save the day. Because I mean, he rips. I mean, Bob Reynolds is crazy, but you know, Sentry is like stronger than Superman type 5, in my opinion, and also has like an evil entity within it that is incredibly overpowered. Like the Sentry flips back and forth to be the Void in the Sentry, and he just was like, "Oh, hey, Bob, you're dead."
Yeah, oh my God.
And I
totally forgot about that.
Yeah. No, I know. Right.
I love releasing the Void right here, but he absorbed the Void is what he wanted.
Yeah. No, I thought that was actually really clever. Like, first of all, it's a callback to what is it, like New Avengers, like the initial story where Sentry flies Carnage out and just rips him in half. But then on top of that, like, it's actually really clever. Yeah, right. It's like a total callback. But then on top of that, like, it's really cool to kind of see. It was cool how, you know, he's been trying to contain this thing, the Void in him. And you could argue that, you know, the Void probably is one of those things that wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the existence of Null, like, you know, the original darkness against the light. And so for him to kind of like look at him and be like, nah, you're not a big deal. And then like just absorb it. Like, I thought that was actually pretty cool too. I actually didn't realize Sentry was back. I thought he'd been dead for a while. So that was actually kind of a bit of a surprise for me.
Good old crazy Bob.
Good old crazy Bob. We got issues. Earth is a place where OP characters come to die.
Facts.
I actually like that. Actually, I always love the idea. I always love the idea that you know, these cosmic evils can, you know, go across the universe and dominate. Then they come to Earth, and I think it's a combination of we're so we're so screwed up in the head, but also just like so like bold and like so like certain of our will to live that
Well, wasn't
we
that
always
another?
win.
Wasn't
what
that
it is,
another
the will to
Kate's
live.
thing? Another Kate's thing that he planted that like way back in time, the Celestials came to Earth and died, and then their blood got into our
That
like,
was in the
system, and then
Avenger. That was
Oh,
in the
yeah.
Avengers run
yeah.
because
So
it
our
started with the
planet
1 million
is.
BC stuff.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Because
Oh,
our
yeah,
planet
that's right,
really
that's right.
is different than all the other planets in the world because we
Yeah.
are seeded with this celestial blood, which creates the mutants and the heroes and all this stuff because we're this one of a kind planet where like the Celestials seeded
That's
us.
right. That's right. That's right. Yeah, and like that was like the only issue I read of that run. This is the Jason Aaron book, right?
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
so.
Jason
yeah.
Aaron.
And like,
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah. And that's
And
the one.
Manus.
That's the one thing I do remember. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Cool. Cool. Weird question for you guys. This was just something that crossed my mind while I was reading this issue. I was reading the miniseries. What do you think Null sounds like? Because like
I
it's,
saw that too.
like I see the bubble and it's like this red and black like thing, and it's like really gravelly, and like I'm
Yeah.
curious, like if you could pinpoint what he sounds like, what would you think Null sounds like?
Yeah, kind of like Romeo in a hell where you were born.
Yeah,
and I
like
came
deep,
for your
echoey.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can also see him having kind of like a Ebony Maw type voice.
Oh,
But
okay.
maybe
Yeah.
like a little more assertive, not as subservient, because Ebony Maw is ultimately.
I am the darkness personified.
Yeah, but maybe
You
a little
will
more
die.
gravelly.
Yeah, gravelly yet still like
I am the
aristocratic.
Yeah. And I am darkness personified.
Personified.
Who's that actor I'm thinking of right now? Oh, I mean, I hear Josh Brolin kind of pulling off his voice a little bit too.
Okay. All right.
You hear like a
Brolin
little
a break.
Thanos.
Jeez.
Little Thanos. Can the man have? Can we give him some more money? Who cares?
Right.
Give
Right.
him the money.
You
Have
can
him do it
cable
again.
Deadpool and Null. Like, why
Yeah.
not?
Oh my god, dude! To see Null adapted into film or video game or other, like, oh my god, that'd be huge.
Well,
and
that's
even Kate's was
I've heard
shouting out
that.
the other day on Twitter, like, "Where's my figure? Where's my Null figure?"
Yeah. Right.
my-
Yeah.
We need a Marvel legend. We need a Null
Build a
legend
fig.
for sure.
Yeah,
There you
to
go,
be-
there
I'll
you
buy
go.
that. I don't even buy legends like that, but you make a Mayfax one. You make a make an Insta Tamashi one. It'd
112.
be dope if Bandai would make comic related ones. They don't
Right.
do
True.
that.
Yeah. They don't do that. They do
They don't
manga
make them
ones.
like- Yeah, they do. The Superman just came out. I need that.
Ooh. We've been looking
Nah,
at
yeah.
those Leopardon old school figs.
Yeah, the
for a while, man.
Chogakin. The Chogakin, yeah.
Oh my god.
With the metal parts and
Oh,
joints.
is that how you say it?
I think so. Chogakin.
Okay. I'm only asking because I know I've been saying it wrong for the longest time. So like, it was interesting to hear somebody else besides myself say it.
I just speak as if I know what I'm talking about. So could be wrong.
What a coincidence. That's what we do every week on this show. So it's all good.
Incredible.
Craig says, I imagine Null sounds like Bobcat Goldthwait in real life.
It's time to die, Spidey.
Actually, the thing I kept thinking about, and I mean, I guess it's not that big of a stretch. I kept thinking about Evil Dead. And so when Null talks, I thought about the Damonites. You know what I mean? Like I felt like that's what he sounded like, So yeah, that's something that just crossed my mind. It's like this sort of like, this dark echo that like just kind of like goes on forever. Like, it's like even when he's done talking, the echo still carries. So yeah.
And I feel like he's one of those characters
I love
too. Like
Evil Dead, man.
he didn't necessarily have like powers like Professor X or Jean Grey, but I still feel like his voice like echoes inside of your head.
Right.
He's like this godhead figure. So he's like,
I mean, he definitely has like telekinesis type, not telekinesis, but a telepathic power. He could talk to you without. Yeah, he can talk to you. I think even if you haven't had a symbiote connected to you, he can talk to you still.
yeah.
It seemed like he would
especially-
just think and people would hear what he's saying.
Okay. Yeah. Like I mean, I definitely know that. Like, if you've been connected to a symbiote, like he can definitely.
It's probably more of
communicate.
that though. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think he's not like Professor X and Jean. He's probably. I think it is more of the symbiote's connected to you. Yeah.
A matter of fact, there's a moment actually to kind of confirm that for me. Johnny's saying he sounds like the lead singer from Metalocalypse. Actually, I kind of like that too. Actually, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But there's a moment, like I think in the 4th issue or maybe in the 5th issue, where Xavier's communicating with the people that are currently being possessed by the symbiote. Oh, he's communicating with Dylan, and it's while Noel is talking to Dylan. So yeah, it seems like he's not. Yeah, there you go. It's not much. It's not so much like you said he's telepathic, but he can definitely communicate with people who have symbiotes. And like Xavier's like almost on another frequency, like, you know what I mean? So that was actually kind of interesting. Like I remember thinking that as I was reading, it's like, is he like a telepath? Like, is this where we're going with this? But yeah, that's actually pretty interesting. Hey guys, I mean, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Like I love this. I love, especially like on the heels of like just finishing the book. It's really nice to kind of like, especially during COVID, to talk to people who've also read the book. You don't really get a lot of that.
Oh, it's
definitely
the best.
Just the best, right? Yeah, it's like we do have Cartoonist Kayfabe's group, of course, on Facebook, but I miss the days of being able to like, I'll be honest, I was definitely that guy who would be in the comic shop for about 2 hours just running my mouth, about whatever was going on. So it's nice to be able to do that, and that's kind of what we're trying to recreate here for you guys watching at home. Tony says, "What up, Eli? Kayfabe crew, exactly, absolutely."
That's all we do. Read more comics,
Read more comics. I'm totally down for that. You guys want to do some shout outs before we walk out of here? I'll start with you, Manus. Where can people find you?
Okay. Well, Snap, if you want to listen to some of my tunes, you can go to Spotify and just put my name in, or Apple Music, or it's all over all of that stuff. It's on YouTube too if you want to. You just put in MANUS, Manus. That's my name. My mama gave me that name, and it's the name I use as my rap moniker. So, yeah, you can go in there. You can go on any of that and look up my music. I got a ton of tunes up there. Had some tunes in like TV and stuff, so gets a little bit of plays. If you want to check out some cool vintage stuff like this, I have other comic-related stuff like that at Jan Michael Vintage on Instagram. If you want to hit me up there, I can find some dope vintage for you. I got some crazy Evil Dead shirts, as you reminded me talking about that. I got anime stuff, and then just Can I Flip It? Me and Eli on the Insta if you want to hit us up there, or look for us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Libsyn.com. Any of those, you can catch us on that.
Awesome. Eli, you guys kind of share similar spaces, but what else can you tell us? When can people find you?
Yeah, you can also check me out at Cosmic Lion on Instagram, cosmiclionproductions.com for all the print media. I just released The Ween Zine issue 6. If you're into the band Ween, you can check it out at theweenzine.com. That's in pre-orders right now. And I just got new books coming out. Keep in touch with everything on cosmiclionproductions.com. Join the Cartoonist Kayfabe group on Facebook if you're into it. Cartoonist Kayfabe ringside seats. And I'm taking submissions for Wizard, the comics magazine, which is like our little riff on Wizard. And so if you got comics or articles or interviews, hit me up on Eli at theweenzine.com via email.
There you go. And actually, there you go, right here.
There it is, right there. Hell yeah.
Tight.
And that's the second issue, right? That you're
the second
issue
that I'm. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, I swear to you, Eli. Eventually, I'm gonna get my together and hit you up and contribute, because like it always sneaks up on me, and I'm like, damn it, I had like 15 ideas I could use. So I'm gonna make it happen soon. I promise.
I know
Absolutely.
you will. I know you will.
Guys, thank you very much for joining me. Guys, back home, for you people at home, definitely check out Can I Flip It podcast. It's hilarious. And if you love the energy here, they definitely match that energy every single time they do an episode. So definitely check that out. And also like, share, and subscribe to Previews World. If you're watching us on Facebook, be sure to like us right now. While you're watching on Facebook, if you're liking us on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and don't miss any of the updates. Look, we just don't do video, of course, if this is the first time that you discovered us. We are Previews. Previews have been around for decades. Like, we're how your local comic shop gets comics. So we basically cover everything comics, and we do it via previewsworld.com, and we do it from our various social media handles, all of which are Previews World. And also shout outs to Free Comic Book Day side of things, which is also part of our family. If you're watching there, be sure to keep an eye on Free Comic Book Day. It's happening this year in August, so definitely keep an eye out for that, and definitely follow us, and be sure to check Previews World Weekly every week. We do it Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. That is on New Comic Book Day. Just hang out with us. If you enjoy talking comics here with us, then you should definitely join us on Wednesdays and join us then. So that's it, guys. Thanks for doing this roundtable with us. Thanks for hanging out on this lazy Friday, right?
Okay.
Thanks for having us, man.
Absolutely. And hey, guys, for you watching at home, we'll see you guys at the spinner rack. Catch you later.